Hi everyone, we're going to get started because I know they've got a tight schedule in this room today. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to this session to introduce you to two new resources from SAGE and from AM. They're designed to support students, librarians and instructors with inclusive research. My name's Claire Mentz, I'm a senior publisher at AM, and I'm going to talk a bit about our new research methods resource, Interrogating Colonial Documents and Narratives. And this is my colleague, Kasia Bigel, who's publisher for SAGE Research Methods, and she'll be introducing you to Diversifying and Decolonizing research. So I'm going to start with the new resource from AM, which is publishing in January 2024. I'll tell you a bit about the new module, the types of content that's in it, some of the core concepts and the topics discussed, and a bit about the collaborative approach to shaping the site itself. So in November 2020, we launched a new portal, AM Research Methods, and we started with the Foundations module, which introduces humanities and social sciences students to key approaches and methodologies of working with primary sources. So Interrogating Colonial Documents and Narratives is our new module, and it provides very practical guidance for students who are re-examining colonial primary sources and adopting critical approaches to colonial history. And the core focus for this resource is really thinking about how you read against the grain, interpret archival silences, and uncover marginalised perspectives. So in terms of a little bit of general information about the resource, we have a lot of different written content types included, which encompass source case studies, learning tools, instructor case studies, and thematic source sets. And there's a wide range of ways in which users can interact with this material. So we have video interviews or data sets, archive films, and resources for student practice. And in total, we've got 80 content pieces, so that's both written and video content, and 175 primary source documents. A lot of those primary source documents are integrated and embedded in the case studies as well, which contextualizes the material more effectively. I'm just going to give you a couple of details on the different content types displayed on the slide here. So we have our learning tools, and they are very practical. So tools for working in the archives, as well as the very key concepts of the area of research. We also have the thematic source sets, and these are a collection of 5 to 10 primary sources. They're very visual, you can integrate them into the classroom, and students can use them in either their study or classroom activities. The teaching case studies and the source case studies very much form the backbone of the resource, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them later on. So first on to some of the content pieces themselves, and these are screenshots from the resource as we've been building it. So the key concepts on the left cover some of those fundamentals, as well as some of the much more kind of complex topics that students might be facing. So we've got subject areas like what is a colonial archive, to considering sources and author positionality and power when conducting research in the archive. And then on the right, we've got some example guides and discussion topics as well, and you can clearly see the practical nature of these. In particular, ones around dealing with distress when working with colonial documents, to reading and transcribing 19th century colonial sources. I've got some example instructor case studies here, which range from activities like an exercise analysing colonial and post-colonial films, to creating a podcast which discusses monuments to colonial figures. And then the primary source case studies, which are on the right of the slide there, on the left for you. They explore a primary source type, and they also explore a thematic area in much more detail. So the examples here, we've got how colonial contacts and encounters appear in exploration journals, specifically using that critical lens to analyse the source. And then in the second example, we've got colonial perspectives and assumptions in medicine through Hartsuff's personal correspondence. So how does it look? Well, here is a snapshot of one of our content pieces here. This is a primary source case study, and it's one of our learning tools. So our case studies include embedded primary sources, as you can see on the slide. It has functionality that allows you to launch the source in a separate window, so you can actually follow the source as you're using the text. And the case studies very much steer the user through the process of source analysis. So you have short sections of written guidance, including initial steps and post-evaluation questions that really encourage that critical reflection when working with the sources. And this is an example of an instructor case study. These instructor case studies are written by instructors for instructors, and they offer a snapshot and a window into teaching activities that are happening right now. We have included these as examples that can be integrated into teaching, used in the classroom. They focus on a specific assignment type and activity, and they demonstrate how relevant research themes in colonial history are currently being taught through primary sources. You can see on the right here, I've included the download tools there, which show how you can download the rubric as an instructor or as a student if you want to include those in classroom teaching. So my final few slides really are just to tell you a little bit about how we developed the resource. And there were several fundamental areas that we focused on from the resource from its inception. We really focused on critical approaches to colonial sources and reading colonial archives against the grain. That was very much a fundamental focus of the resource. We have a core commitment to robust practices to decide on the content, and all the stakeholders who were involved in the process reflected on their own positionality. We had spent a lot of time thinking about the terminology used in the resource, and we used an inclusive glossary that was first developed by the National Library of Scotland as a core reference guide. And obviously the diversity of perspectives and contributors was absolutely critical. And we elicited feedback both from a core editorial board and a wider advisory panel. And then all of the kind of fundamental content pieces were peer-reviewed. We wanted everything to be designed for both classroom-based and online teaching as well. We have our core set of primary sources, so those 175 documents, which actually come from around 30 different archives from AM's published collections. And an important part of the process was the ratification of that contents list. So our editorial board collaboration was critical, and we worked extremely closely with our board of editors, conducting focus groups and interactive workshops to develop this full list of topics. We really encouraged robust and honest feedback in those sessions, and we gave the group of editorial board members access to all of our portfolio to be able to select relevant sources to actually match those case studies that were put in there. They provided recommendations for all of our authors, so they advised us on things like where we needed to extend representation, contributors in different regions of the resource. And they have been absolutely fundamental from both the inception of the resource up to publication, so our board will be reviewing the site before we publish. We also have a panel of advisors who refined the topics and the contents and learning outcomes. They made additional author recommendations, and they went through an important process of ratifying the contents list that we developed with the editorial board as well. And I'm just going to finish up then with a slide showing who our editorial board were. We're very thankful for the input they give us throughout the development of the resource. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague now, Kasia, who's going to talk about our resource.
Hi everyone, I'm Kasia. I'm a publisher for Sage Research Methods at Sage Publications. Very happy to be talking to you about our new collection on diversifying and decolonizing research. And just to give you a little bit of a context for this collection, Sage Research Methods platform, it's a multimedia platform that supports research at all levels, researchers at all levels by providing materials and guide them into how to conduct research. So going through every step of the research process. It's aimed at social science and humanities students and researchers, used both in instruction as well as self-study. It's a very vast library of over 1,000 books, reference works, journal articles, but also interactive multimedia resources, including videos, teaching data sets, and case studies. and includes the largest collection of qualitative methods books available online from any scholarly publisher. It covers qualitative and quantitative and mixed research as well. So within the platform, the new collection that we have been working on, and we are very excited to be launching in spring next year, is the collection on diversifying and colonizing research. So here you can see a kind of a statement of the aims for the collection. We really look to provide resources that would support social science researchers in creating research that is critical and inclusive, that is kind of conducted with the decolonial principles in mind, but also to really expand the library of research methods, materials on our platform to include a much wider and more diverse representation of different research projects. So the aims for the collections are twofold, to kind of provide the more theoretical grounding for that type of research, exploring multitude of concepts and approaches, as well as methods that frankly haven't been represented to a large enough extent on the platform before, including indigenous methods, and then practical support for applying these concepts when students or researchers are looking to create and design and then conduct their own research. We're looking to also support teaching of decolonial approaches within the methods courses within social sciences. The content that we are creating to support these aims is a multimedia one. So you can see here a selection of the different types of content that we will be including. This will include a rich video library, including indigenous and underrepresented researchers, methods and themes. These are both case studies, interviews, as well as tutorials. We will include a vast collection of written case studies, and these are really meant to provide both an inspiration, but also kind of a look under the hood of research projects and how they are conducted in the real world. The how-to guides will demystify some of the concepts relating to decolonizing research, and also give really practical step-by-step guidance on some of the topics. And finally, the teaching data sets, content type, gives students and instructors a chance to get hands-on experience of working with data, critically appraising data sets and their structure, thinking about how and why the data was collected, or identifying bias within the data sets. So just to give you a little bit more of an idea of the types of topics and themes that will be that the collection is exploring. As I mentioned already, we are really looking to expand our offering in terms of case studies and tutorials and guides around indigenous methods. These are, by the way, in no way kind of complete lists. Just to give you an idea of the topics and the scope. The collection will also explore themes around gender and sexuality, disability, and race and ethnicity, including some of the topics that you can see here on the slides. But I'll give a second. So to dive a little bit deeper into one of the types of content, the video collection that will form part of the this product, I just wanted to bring up here a few examples of case studies and interviews of research and methodologies that have been filmed at the Native American and Indigenous Studies Association conference in Toronto earlier this year. These are really a mixture of interviews around the issues and topics that the researchers are coming across when conducting their research using indigenous methodologies, but also case studies of specific research projects where they dive into the entire process of research from start to finish, and the challenges and learnings and opportunities that come with that. Our how-to guides, on the other hand, are text pieces which provide introductory and accessible content to really a kind of a step-by-step to a particular topic or an overview. They all come with learning outcomes that have been developed in collaboration with our series editors as well as the authors, and include also interactive elements such as multiple choice questions and discussion questions depending on the topic. And again, I just wanted to bring up a few different examples of the types of topics that we are looking at covering. So this is, of course, a incredibly vast area to kind of cover within large but still limited collections. And similarly to Claire and the AM collection, we also worked very closely with an editorial advisory board to guide us through the content plan and defining the scope of the collection, as well as the topics and themes that we should explore as the first priority. We will be adding in more content every year to the collection, so we're hoping to kind of continue to fill in the gaps as we go along. But the advisory board has been really critical in providing in-depth feedback on the content plan and on the learning outcomes, suggesting authors and contributors that we should speak to. And what they have really worked on with us quite closely has been on the project of the updating and revising the taxonomy of our platform to accommodate the methods and topics that previously were not as well represented. So just wanted to give a bit of a spotlight on that. So our platform includes what we call a SAGE research methods map. This is essentially the taxonomy underpinning the platform with which we use for tagging content as well as for search and browse functions. So as part of this project and working on the new collection, we have also looked at reviewing and revising both the taxonomy terms as well as the definitions that are used there on the map, and we'll be adding a significant number of new terms with the launch of the collection. But we also have created a much longer term roadmap for further work to ensure that we not only keeping up with new changes and new thinking in the area, but continue to kind of revise and improve the taxonomy of the platform. So that's really all I wanted to say. We might have a little bit of time, a couple of minutes for any questions. And please come and visit us at the stand 1-1 and 1-2 if you'd like to find out more, or ask us now if there's any immediate questions.
Thank you very much.